Kishi Bashi is a little wishy-washy. As a long-time fan, usually swept up in the psychedelic and lavish magic of Kishi Bashi and his trusty violin, Omoiyari left me with an empty feeling in the stomach that usually happens when I've had nothing except Powerade in the morning. I think it just so happens that the continued streamlining of Ishibashi's songcraft is indirectly proportional to the resistance of my eyelids. In other words, I'm not enchanted by the movements of these songs at all, neither the stories that they tell, which kinda sucks because the inspiration behind this album is actually very interesting. It implies an urgent energy at play with a World War II themed historical framework, and yet the result ends up sounding as drained of colour and personality as indie folk gets when you shuffle through the mostly strings channel. The song Angeline is supposed to be about convict leasing during the Jim Crow era, so why does it read like a love song? It references separation and a judge, it implies prison, but it's like my circuit analysis course's test mark schemes. I don't know how on earth I was supposed to infer these answers. I was joking earlier, by the way, I don't drink Powerade, that's shit. This album is only vaguely tied to fascinating and extremely vital artifacts of history. I know what Summer of 42 or 1942 is referring to, so again, why does it read like another of those love songs? Human compassion, or a lack thereof, certainly is something that makes people fuck the world up in the context of history, but it seems like such an oversimplification, a huge oversight to make this the focal point, reaching daftly over the pit of insightful observations and going straight to the big plate of muffins because that looks nicer. The muffins flavoured with love's the answer to everything sugar, harvested from the cane farms of liberal naivety. This album lacks subtlety in just about all areas. Every song blasts you with instrumentation you'd expect from a chamber-infused indie folk affair at this point. There always has been a cheesiness to his music. I mean, he is called Kishi Bashi. I mean, he also has a song called Unicorns Die When You Leave, for goodness sake, but it felt like there was still an emotional depth and an adventurous, whimsical progression to a lot of his songs. It felt so compelling. When Sunderlust was talking about the deeply upsetting unrest within a marriage, lyrics like "we were adding and subtracting with scandals that we made together" really hit. Ichigo Ichi-a was blissful, but was also exciting, and you never really expected some of those surreal musical movements to happen, like the woozy slowing downs and the sudden spikes in tempo, as the violin gets shredded, or the song suddenly clears out and you end up hearing very little, just the sound of his voice and the faint plucking of his strings. Spine-chilling metaphors like being the Antichrist to your lover, now being contrasted with tepid stories about Penny Rabbit and Summer Bear, as if drafts of Rudyard Kipling suddenly got misplaced within the lyric sheets. And by the time that Emile Leaves sweeps within earshot, we hear this wordless sighing throughout the entire song, and it's like, no, I'm out. How this song with no lyrics is less emotively ambiguous than the rest of the writing on the record has my eyeballs rolling 360 degrees like a lottery wheel. 4 out of 10. I don't like comparing old records to new. Evolution happens and we have to move forward, but sometimes I drop my wallet and leave my umbrella behind, and my beanie gets lost, and I have to look behind me to realize, something is missing.